Good afternoon. Welcome to our Sioux Falls City Council informational meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, March 24th. We welcome our council and our guests in Carnegie and all those that might be watching online or on CityLink programming. Thank you for your interest. Call our meeting to order, and we will begin with a report of our Land Use Committee meeting that met last Tuesday. And Councillor Kiley, I believe you'll be giving that report?
No, not that one. I'll be giving the UDC report.
Ah, okay. Mr. Jameson's giving that report? Okay.
Can you use the word Mr. loosely?
Councillor Jameson.
Well, let me catch my breath a little bit, but yes, we did have a land use committee meeting. Councillor Rolfing is the chair. He is gone. We had, I think, 3 items that we covered. Biggest one was regarding shaped places and billboards. Mike Cooper gave us a report. I think you're all aware of the item tonight on the agenda of the council meeting to take immediate action to put a stop to the issuance of permits or the construction of billboard signs. So look for that action. It's kind of a big deal coming from Land Use Committee to go right to the council for an immediate action, almost an emergency kind of clause. So that's a big deal. I don't think that's happened before. So look for that. Let's see, what else did we cover? Annexation process. Mike Cooper talked about that. So did Mark Cotter. There's some changes in procedure that they're working through. Look for more changes to come on the methodology behind assessing new properties that are annexed into the city. You know, those existing neighborhoods who have frontages and homes. How do you assess them, a new charge for the roads? I think some good, decent strategy there, some common sense approach. So look for those to become more finalized and then presented to the council later. We did have another heated discussion, I suppose, on TIFs. Darren Smith and Brenda O'Neill were here. We probably have a little disagreement about the process going forward, but our meeting was rushed, and the process is, though, to continue looking at solutions in the process, which some of us are maybe at odds at, but we're still continuing the discussion, so look for further discussions about TIFs. That's all I have.
Questions? All righty. Councillor Kiley, I'll call on you for the UDC, Urbanized Development Commission meeting.
Yes, this took place last Thursday, March 19th, and we approved a number of items, the first one being the 2016 Unified Planning Work Program, Public Participation Plan, and that was approved with little discussion. And then the next item was the 2015-2018 Transportation Improvements Program or TIP revision, and that was just simply to add a minor project. And then we had more discussion on the I-229 Exit 5 26th Street Crossroad Corridor study, which we also approved, but that's an interesting one because that's going to have a great effect on the city of Sioux Falls, especially in my southeast district. But park improvements will begin to take place in 2018, so it's still slowly moving on. And I was actually involved when I was on the Citizens Advisory Committee back in 2013, and we selected the engineers to conduct the study. So we're just finishing up the study phase of the project now. So construction will, the park improvements in 2018, and I think actually we're going to see an enhanced park in that particular area because now there'll be connection available under the bridge where before people had to cross the 26th Street roadway or a narrow bike path to get from one side to the other. But now that'll all be open space from one side to the other. So it's really, and they have received positive comments from the public related to that because we have conducted 4 public meetings thus far on this particular project. real construction then on the bridges and on the roadway will begin in 2019 and 2020. So it's for more information, you can find that on the Sioux Falls MPO website. It will be it's quite an extensive project. It's $11 million from the Department of Transportation and city $22 million project. However, much of our city cost is going to be covered through federal funds. We'll actually end up with a $1 to $3 million cost to the city that is in the public works budget. But once again, more information is available on Sioux Falls MPO if you're interested. And then we received the end of the year report on the Sioux Falls regarding the Sioux Falls MPO year-end report, and that too is on the website. Long-range transportation plan, guiding principles and goals authorized, and they will have, and that's on, you can go to, the website is gosiouxfalls.org. They have an open house April 16th at the Downtown Holiday Inn from 6 to 7:30. And again, that's the 2040 Long-Range Transportation Plan Guiding Principles and Goals. And then the Sioux Falls Regional Airport Master Plan, we spent a fairly large amount of time on that particular topic. And this master plan covers both short-term, 5 years out, to long-term, 25 years out. And the planning needs, they have seen 39% growth from 2010 to 2013. In the next 20 years, they project a 59.6% passenger growth and also a 44.7% aircraft operation growth, and that would include passenger as well as cargo planes. So again, our airport is growing very quickly. And then the Minnehaha County's Envision 2035 plan, that was presented, and then again, there's a public open house on March 24th. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Counselor. Questions for Counselor Kelly? Counselor Erpenbach.
I just wanted to clarify what Sioux Falls MPO meant and what that website was, and I thought I would make you spell it out. But then I just Googled Sioux Falls M like Mary, M, P like Paul, O like Oscar, and it really does. That is the web address. So that was
Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Right. So Sioux Falls MPO. It's really pretty interesting stuff, and it's amazing how we're all intertwined with that transportation planning. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's been I have been associated with that, as I mentioned, that particular organization for a number of years now. So it's.
How long will that project take on 26th Street, start to finish?
Up until at least 2020.
So it's a 2-year project.
20.
So
Yes.
if you live on east of 26th Street, get ready for some major traffic disruption, probably.
Correct.
Or what are they going to do to try to minimize that?
Actually, my wife was hoping it would be done before because she's taking that route over the interstate and the river every day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
as
It'll be better when it's done. It always is. It's the pain of getting there.
well,
Counselor
absolutely.
Jameson.
No longer will we be slowed down with the train traffic and so forth because the bridge will go over the tracks as well as the river.
The traffic will be maintained through that intersection. The east-west will be maintained during the construction. That's a big deal to keep it open. You know, as the cost goes, some $30 million. If there's an elevated bridge over the railroad track and southeastern, and that intersection and that whole setup is going to be a lot different than what we've ever seen in Sioux Falls. And it's quite a project. It's quite an undertaking, but it will be a challenge for those living in the area. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And the public meetings that were held, as I mentioned, there were 4 of them. And even before I was on the council, they were all very well attended by the public.
Yeah.
So they've had a lot of input.
All righty. Counselor Erickson, down there all by yourself? Anything? Okay. All righty. We will move into City Council open discussion. Anybody have any topics they'd like to bring forth?
Just briefly, it's not a project, but in talking about the Sioux Falls Regional Airport, this past Saturday in the early morning hours, we lost a man who contributed greatly to our Sioux Falls Regional Airport, and that is Mr. John Orr, passed away. And if you recall, we just renamed a portion of his street at a recent council meeting. But John took over as airport director in 1957 and then retired in 1988, so 31 years as the airport director. And he was actually the first executive director of the airport authority, and saw the transformation of what was really at that time in 57 an old air base with a terminal, Quonset hut type terminal building, to what we have here today. So I appreciate the efforts of John, and we will miss him.
Thank you. All righty. Recently we had our National Citizen Survey released to us, and in front of us we all have the final draft of it, I guess. And there's a lot of information in here, and this is all available to the public. Jim David, our Legislative and Operations Manager, will be giving us a presentation on this survey.
Good afternoon, City Council. Jim David, Legislative Operations Manager for the Council. Before I get started, I want to just give some basic background before I get to the results. The National Citizen Survey was conducted under City Finance in 2008, 2009, and 2013. In late 2013, the City Council amended the 2014 budget and placed the Citizen Survey under the City Council line item. The survey was finalized in late 2014 following several meetings that included work sessions and ad hoc committee meeting. And in 2013, the survey included 17 questions and one open-ended question. National Research Center randomly selected 3,000 Sioux Falls residential addresses, and per council request, all city employees were removed from the master list. In January of 2013, in January of 2015, Mayor Mike Uther and City Council Chair Dean Karski held a joint news conference announcing the mailing of the survey. The announcement was carried by all local media. The survey response was 30%. In previous years, it was 32% and 34%. In the map you see in front of you, the response rate by council district ranged between 25% to 38%. You'll see the highest was in the Southeast District. We'll begin first with the quality of life and safety within Sioux Falls. First of all, those that ranked our neighborhoods as a safe place to live was ranked at 83% as positive, and previously it ranged between 81 and 80%. Those that ranked our neighborhoods as safe was 93% in 2015. This number has ranged between 95 and 97%. 85% believe that Sioux Falls is a safe place to raise, Sioux Falls is a good or excellent place to raise children. This number has ranged between 84 and 91%. 65% believe that Sioux Falls is an excellent or good place to retire. This number has ranged between 59 and 61%, or 64%, excuse me. Overall, 79% of those respondents believe that have a good or excellent feeling of safe in Sioux Falls. 87% rank the overall quality of life good or excellent in Sioux Falls. This number has ranged between 83 and 90%. And 93% believe that Sioux Falls is a good or excellent place to live. This has ranged between 89 and 93%. Now if we go to mobility, you'll see here that 69% rate travel by car as good or excellent. This number has ranged between 62 and 69%. 50% believe that travel by bike is good or excellent. This has ranged between 63 and 68%. Traffic flow in Sioux Falls is excellent or good, according to 46%. This number has ranged between 42 and 46%. And 77% believe that the paths and walking trails in Sioux Falls are good or excellent. This has ranged between or right around 77 and 76%. And ease of walking is 66%. This has ranged as high as 74% to 66%. Then if we go to our downtown and our commercial area, 85% ranks the safety in downtown and the commercial area, which could probably be on Minnesota Avenue and 41st Street, as good or excellent, is 85%, and this has been as high as 91%. 69% believe that Sioux Falls has a vibrant downtown and commercial area. This is the first time this question's been asked. If we look at housing, we'll see that 49% believe that Sioux Falls is affordable housing either good or excellent. This has ranged between 54 and 49%. Housing options are either good or excellent, and this has been between 68 and 70%. In the economy, you'll notice in these numbers, all the economic numbers have increased since 2008. 82% believe that Sioux Falls' overall economic health is good or excellent. 81% believe the shopping opportunities are good or excellent. This has ranged between 77 and 81%. Employment opportunities is 72% good or excellent. This has been as low as 53% in 2009. Sioux Falls is a place to work is good or excellent according to 81%. This has been as low as 68%. Looking at city government itself, compared to 2013, those are the numbers you'll see on the right, but 81% believe that customer service or services provided by Sioux Falls is good or excellent. That's 81% plus 1. Customer service is good or excellent according to 74% of respondents. That's a decline of 3. The overall direction of the city of Sioux Falls is positive according to 76%. That's a 4% increase. And then 62% are confident in city government, and this is the first time that question was asked. Police and fire have no change at 83 and 96% respectively. Ambulance EMS is at 92%. Crime prevention 71%. Fire prevention is at 83%. Animal control has increased by 2% to now 73%. Traffic enforcement is increased by 4%. Street repair has decreased by 8 at 37%. Street cleaning has decreased by 4 to 56%. Street lighting, no change at 64%. Snow removal declined by 2% at 69%. 46% have a positive rating for traffic signal timing, which is a decrease of 2. And bus transit service increased by 3 to 59%. Storm drainage, no change at 64%. Drinking water has increased by 1 at 85%. Recycling has decreased by 1 at 82%. Sewer services down slightly to 83%. Land use, planning, zoning down 2 to 62%. And code enforcement declined to 56% by 1 point. Let me back up there. Code enforcement's declined by 1% to 56%. City parks has a decline of 5% to 88%. Recreation programs down 10 to 78%. Health services increased by 2 to 83%. And public libraries remain stable at 91%. As you all are aware, the City Council had an opportunity to add some custom questions to their template. It allowed for 5 extra questions, so the Council approved 4 questions and 1 open-ended question. The first question you see here was, please rate the importance of City of Sioux Falls investing existing tax dollars over the next 2 years in the following. You'll see here that streets, public safety, traffic flow, and job growth were both over a combined 90%. But I want to point out, too, that affordable housing was listed by those as very important at 52%, which would be about the 5th highest for those listing what is very important to them. When you compare it to the last survey in 2013, some of these you'll notice are left blank, but I did list the top 10 results Those not listed were not asked last year, or they're not part of the top 10. But you'll see here that streets is pretty stable at 98%, traffic flow at 93%, parks was at 91%, affordable housing at 80%. Then we have public health services at 87%, recycling at 87%, downtown parking at 78%, and then recreation programs was at 84%, library services was at 83%, and then entertainment venues was at 77% in 2013, and that's now 68%. The next question was a question that was developed by the City Council. It says, in addition to city enforcing property maintenance codes, U.S. citizens are encouraged to assist the city in identifying potential violations. To what degree are you satisfied with this reporting process? 27% were very satisfied, and 55% were somewhat satisfied. The next question was also developed by the council. Thinking about future shopping areas and other types of development in the city, how important, if at all, should each of the following be when the city new development? For very important, the resident opinion nearest to the development was at 63%. That the development provides a product or a service not available in the city was listed at 52%. And then resident opinion citywide at 45%, and fits the city's character at 41%, and then the current zoning was 36%. The next question was a carryover from 2013. It asked if the respondents agree or disagree with the following statement: the City of Sioux Falls should place a higher priority in investing taxpayer resources to promote job growth. This really remained unchanged. Strongly agree at 31% this year compared to 26% in 2013, and somewhat agree at 50%, and last time it was 56%. They line up at 81%, so 81% this year, and at 82% in 2013, so real no change since 2013. Then we go down to the next question, and this was the open-ended question that anybody could write whatever they felt could improve the City of Sioux Falls. By far, improve road conditions, maintenance, transportation, traffic was at 25%. Next in line was taxes, government, communication, community relations, communication at 15%. And there you see kind of how it breaks down with at the bottom there at 5%. There has been a website that's created that has all of these results, and you'll see it here. It includes just some basic information on the survey itself. Everything that you've received is available to the public, anything from the community livability report to it broken out by demographics or geographic responses. The announcement, the press conference announcing the survey, and then also the 2013 survey is listed there. Happy to entertain your questions.
All righty. Very detailed report, Jim. A ton of information here. I really kind of got into the technical appendices. I wanted to see who replied to the survey, and it's kind of interesting to see that we had a very nice demographic and a lot of young people that really replied to the survey. Questions of Jim, Councilor Erpenbach.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great report. It's really technical, but you can kind of get the highlights and kind of get a gist for what's going on.
Oh.
A couple of things, just kind of for the group to think about too, is the response rates are dropping dramatically over time. We've been hitting them every year, and I just wonder if next year we maybe should skip doing a survey. That maybe we've got quite a body of evidence right now that we can use for a while. Maybe we need to just take a year off. Just something to think about. And then my other question was about the chart that you have with it's on our page 9 in the book. It's called Special Topics. It's the one where you broke out, and then some of them you did relations to. It's a line graph. It's like this. You had it on your thing.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to look at the job growth one. Man, and this is a cool way to do this description.
Sorry, I
isn't
just
it?
have to skip all the way through here. Just kind of learning how to use this program. So,
No,
yeah, sorry, don't look.
Seizure coming.
I didn't bring any Dramamine with me, so we're going to travel around the presentation here, go and visit those nice people.
There
That
we go.
one. Now, on the next version of it, you had some added information that pops up, but it didn't on job growth.
That question was not asked in 2013. I think it was actually asked in the previous years, 2008, 2009 possibly, or it was added. Looking back at my notes, I'm not sure if that was actually developed during one of the work sessions or in the ad hoc committee, but the question, at least in 2013, wasn't
Right.
asked.
That's one of those that'd be interesting to see it trend over time. I'm just, it isn't generally the role of the city government to create jobs, but for that perception to be out there that that's something that we, either could and should be involved with is just interesting to me. And so I think it's that it hits that high. It's in the top 5.
And Councilor Herpenbach, too, if you look at this question that was asked in 2013, it falls in line similar to what was asked in that previous question, but you'll again see here that 81% or 82% in 2013 believe that is the city should place a higher priority investing tax dollars in.
Right, using taxpayer dollars to help
Yep.
with promoting job growth. I just think that's a really interesting thing for us to keep in mind. And certainly we talk about all those other things that are important, streets and public safety and all those things, and they're critical. But to have job growth and have people want to make that investment in tax dollars and job growth that high is really just very interesting to me. So,
And if you do recall also in this question back here, this question was amended from its original proposal to specifically say tax dollar money. I know Councilor Karski, or excuse me, Councilor Kiley and Staggers had worked on that question's
Right.
wording. So.
exactly. Just real interesting. I appreciate this survey every year, and that just really struck me this time. Thank you for all your work with it. It looks great. And we love that. What's the software you used for the?
It's Prezi. I was inspired by Councilor Stager's grandson.
Ooh,
who did
good.
this, so.
He'll be glad to know that.
And
Councilor
did he put it together for you?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I keep the special topics up there because I'd like to come to it later, but would you like to just address a little bit, if you can? I'm putting you on the spot, and I apologize for that, but just the process and how it was determined who was going to receive the surveys and how many surveys went out and what percentage came back and why it is that we do it that way.
Yeah, the National Research Center that actually conducts the survey, they were the ones that solicited or gathered this information from the post office. So nobody's names were ever listed. It was only by address. And so they sent out this divided into different segments of the city, and they divided it up by council district as much as they possibly could. And so they sent out probably slightly more than 3,000. And then when these were returned, we received the notice that each of the residents received that, hey, you're going to be receiving the survey. So when those were returned, I received those and then I collected them. And then there was a certain code on those postcards, and I was to, I add all them up and reduce that from the total to make sure that our numbers weren't skewed, that we didn't say, well, 26 response rate, when really several of those were actually returned because they're vacant properties or nobody's there currently.
And our response rate was, once again?
It was 30%. It's been between 32 and 34%, and so it's dropped a couple percentage points.
Which is still considerably higher than the national average on response rate for other surveys of this nature?
Yeah, what the National Research Center is right around that area. That 30% is kind of that average, I think, throughout the country. But, you look at 18 questions, that's multiple pages, and these individuals take the time to go through it and fill them out, and then even write down an answer, too, for how they feel they can protect or improve Sioux Falls. So it's a pretty detailed survey. It's not the simplest ones where you just answer a call and click the number at your response.
In recent years with the program, one of the programs that I'm involved at the South Dakota Safety Council, we did a survey that was fairly extensive like this, and at that time we were told by the individuals conducting the survey, if you get a 10 to 15% response, you're doing very well. So 30% is from that experience is very good. And again, the individuals were randomly selected by district to reflect as accurately as possible the city as a whole without trying to survey all 170 residents. Now, let's also keep in mind that 170,000 residents, many of those are minors, and you're not going to expect to receive a survey from them anyway. So, but this is a very accurate way to determine, I guess, the feelings of our citizenship.
If and it wasn't not the individuals, it was the residential addresses that were chosen, and so when those postcards came in the mail, it just had current resident and then the address on there, and so the residential addresses were randomly chosen, and the results are completely anonymous.
Correct. And at the same time, by doing a random selection and a certain percentage of the addresses available to us, it greatly reduces the costs associated with conducting a survey of this type too.
Yep.
At the same time, still maintaining the integrity of the results.
Exactly.
Now, with the page that you have up here, obviously this is with streets and public safety and traffic flow and job growth. Really, a year ago when I was candidate Kylie, basically that was my platform right there. So it hasn't changed a lot, and I based my priorities on the 2013 survey that was conducted. And so at that time, I kind of lumped streets and traffic and public transportation together in one. And we'll see public transportation is actually quite a ways down the list here, but it certainly is something that we're still going to continue to be focused on in the future pretty heavily. But then public safety. And then the workforce development that Councilor Erpenbach had mentioned, even though this is a new question, I mean, obviously workforce development was a very hot topic and still continues to be a hot topic. And if we want to progress as a community, we need to be sure that we're meeting the needs of our community employers too. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good that continues, and job growth and workforce development go hand in hand. So we need to continue to focus. So as I had mentioned earlier, this is really our roadmap for what we need to do as a council, because if they're willing to invest their tax dollars in these areas, that's really showing this is the direction we should be going. So again, good job with the survey, and very interesting results, and especially and I know we haven't had this very long, but the results by demographics and geographics, that's very interesting as well too. Yes. So there's a lot of information here it'll actually take us weeks to go through.
Councilor Jameson.
Thank you. The question was regarding doing these surveys every year. Just as a little history, some of the dates go back to 2008 and 2009, and some of that had to do with the actual timing that they were sent out and what year they were cast in. But the goal is to not do them every year. They are separated by at least a couple of years. That's the goal, but that's why it looks like we did it every year, but it was really because they got sent in a different time. And if I'm right, the timing was then settled on and continued with January versus previous ones were done at different times.
We modeled it after 2013. You're right with 2008, 2009, but we wanted to mimic what was done in 2013 as much as possible and not reinvent the wheel. So,
right. And just so it'll be a couple years, I would think, and I would agree with you. It's interesting the timing of these surveys. If the roads are in such a rough repair because of the potholes and the seasonal things. I remember Dave Munson, former Mayor Dave Munson, was hammered on the survey because of the roads, because it was at a time of the year when the roads were in their worst condition and they hadn't had a chance to fix the potholes. And so everybody was like, roads. Well, one thing I wanted to just share, if I could, is or offer to the group is that it takes a long time to digest all this information for sure, but there's some of them some of these indicators that are telling us that there's issues. For instance, parks and the recreational program saw significant drops in their ratings. And I would offer to the group and be willing to take forth in fiscal committee to wade through some of this and find the big outliers of it all and the message that really says regarding where the attention should be brought towards, and then analyze those custom questions that we included, because it's kind of an interesting dialogue there. But there's a lot of good things in here that we probably don't need to go over that we all get. But look for those outliers that say, if anything, this is what we should take away from the survey, because here's the biggest change. And if we want to impact those changes into a positive position, doing it during the budget cycle is appropriate, which will be coming. We can, address the education process on, if that's deemed necessary, on, the bus service or the recreational programs or whatever it is. But I would be willing, as chair of the fiscal, to review some of those details. We've got a great staff person to help wade through all the numbers and the crosstabs, if you will, about the age of the individuals who replied, their income levels. Do we see something correlating? Just to help us guide through that, I think Dave Bixler would help us in that effort. Anyway, just an offer to throw on.
Was there, you're thinking mainly along the parks area, or?
I'll go through the survey and find the outliers of all the items that showed a significant change, and for the worse, frankly. Those ones where we've had improvements and things are good and rosy maybe don't need to be covered. But either way, wade through this, I guess, at the bottom end of the day, is wade through this survey with Dave and find those outliers that we should address and pay more attention to than the warm and fuzzy feelings we get with some of the other information.
And I would agree that we didn't do this survey so that people could tell us what a great job we're doing. We did the survey so that we could find out where people think we need to be doing a better job. So whatever we need to do to get that done, I think, is what needs to be done. So.
Right, I think that would be from start to finish about really why we do it. It's like a report card, I would call it, and if the passing grade is lousy, we don't want to keep getting a lousy grade. So I agree.
Councilor Erpenbach?
I would just, if that's kind of a motion, I'd say, yeah, I'd second that. I think that's where it should go. It does put it in the hands of our budget analyst, and his brain works so much better on numbers than so many of us.
Yeah.
I just think that's a great place to start that and continue that conversation. And that was part of the reason that we brought it back under council control, was that we really wanted to analyze it more. We wanted to really dig into those things. And that's, not only, I assume that the mayor on Thursday is going to attack some of this stuff with the state of the city as well, but we need to take it from our perspective as, really that citizen legislature, that we really need to be involved with this process. I think it's a great place to put it. It's fiscal.
Yeah. Councilor Crowley?
Well, and just to build on that a little bit too, it's, many of our questions were phrased for responses such as very satisfied, somewhat satisfied, or somewhat dissatisfied and very dissatisfied. And, one, for instance, that I found kind of interesting, because we had early in the summer of 2014, well, just this last summer, we had quite a discussion on code enforcement, and you would think by the number of people that were coming in that, that we were going to score extremely low there, where we actually had 82% of the respondents respond somewhat satisfied or very satisfied. Now, that doesn't mean that we ignore the other 18%. Until we reach that 100% level, we have to continue to strive to meeting the needs of every single citizen here. So it's just we do have our work cut out. We don't want to, even though majority are satisfied, we didn't do this just to pump ourselves up and show the citizens that, hey, we're doing our job. No, we're trying to identify how we're doing and where can we improve, and this does this. And quite frankly, 82%, am I satisfied with that? If I were a student back at my master's degree, I wouldn't be very happy with an 82%. I'd expect more of myself. So I think we still have an area to grow and build upon.
All righty. Thank you, Jim. We will look forward to more work then on this from our fiscal committee and our budget analysts. So thank you for taking that on, Councilor Jameson. And that is the end of our presentations. We have a 5 o'clock meeting, joint meeting with the Minnehaha County Commission. And next Tuesday is the 5th Tuesday of the month. There will be no city council, informational committee, or regular council meeting next Tuesday. So one of those rare Tuesdays we have off completely. So enjoy your day off next week, councilors. With that, we will adjourn our meeting.